around 2018, I was 57 years old, and I felt I felt the kind of emptiness, and I felt the itch to want to write again.
What has it meant, when we think about adventure, obviously we think about, going off and doing the thing, but everyone has support structure. Everyone has family. Everyone in this room has people who care about and support them. And without those people, we would not be able to adventure or do anything, really.
Right.
So what has it meant? How has your family supported you in your adventures, and what has it meant to you to have that support?
Right. Yeah, for the long time, my wife, after we moved to LA, wouldn't let me ride motorcycle because she said the traffic in LA is really bad and the drivers are aggressive, and so she cared for my safety.
And she's right.
Yeah, and so I didn't ride for a long time, but around 2018, I was 57 years old, and I felt I felt the kind of emptiness, and I felt the itch to want to ride again. And so I was able to borrow a motorcycle from a friend in La Cañada. He let me ride his motorcycle one day, and I rode to Malibu. And so she after that, she realized how riding motorcycle made me so happy, and she didn't want to, deny that from me. And so I persuaded her to let me get a motorcycle. I promised that I'll ride safe, and so that was the beginning of her permission for me to ride motorcycle.
Yeah.
And I'm very thankful to my wife who understands and supports me in my adventures, because without that, it would be virtually impossible to do. Because, like you said, that support, emotional and logistic and otherwise, is so important, because somebody has to take care of the kids and run the household. And so, it's incredibly important to have that support, and I feel very fortunate to have a wife and children and parents and family who support me. And my father is more, he passed away last year, but he was more supportive. He didn't show his worry as much as my mom. My mom worries a lot. And so, she's just counting the days that I'm coming back because she worries that something might happen. And so, but she lets me go. I mean, it gives me so much joy and so much meaning and so much life. So, so that support to me is incredibly important, and I do my best to try to earn that support and do my part as a husband and father to make sure that when I'm home, things are good and well provided for.
Absolutely. Are any of your kids showing interest in going with you on one of your trips coming up?
Yeah. So my youngest son wanted to learn how to ride dirt bike, so I took him out to Jawbone a couple of months ago and taught him how to ride, and he knows how to ride now.
Okay.
And my two of the other kids also want to learn too, so I hope to try to teach them over this summer how to ride, and maybe one day when they get good enough, we could go on rides together and go on some trips together. Who knows?
Absolutely.
Yeah. That would be amazing.
Make it a family event. Well, Michael, thank you so much for joining us. And if you have a little bit more time, I'd love to open it up to questions from the audience. So folks, if you have a question for Michael, raise your hand. We'll get you a mic, and you can ask it.
Past President Bob.
Yes. Michael, what's the range of the BMW, and did you carry extra fuel?
Oh, so my GS Adventure has an 8-gallon gas tank, and it gets about 40 to 45 miles per gallon, depending on the load and the weather conditions. So it could travel about 320 to 350 miles. And one of the reasons why I decided to get BMW GS Adventure is because I wanted that mileage. I didn't want to have to worry about running out of fuel when I'm on these remote places. And
Did you ever get close?
Yes, in fact, not on my bike, but when I rented the BMW GS in Patagonia, I almost ran out of gas because on the Google map there was a gas station, so I was expecting to stop and fuel, but that gas station has been shut down,
Ooh.
and I was down to like just like a quarter of a gallon,
Ooh.
and the next gas station was like 45 miles away. So I had to really go slow in the most economical way I could ride. I was cruising at like 35 miles per hour with the lowest RPM and lowest rev. Fortunately, the meter said I'm down to 0 mile left, right? But I went for another 12 miles without running out. So I made it to the gas station and was able to fill up. So that was the only time where, but you know, up in Alaska, there are places where there's no gas station for like 180 miles apart, right? Between one gas station to the next. So you need to kind of constantly fill up when you have an opportunity. But yeah.
Question is, did everybody, other riders, do they all have heavy bikes like that? Is there any advantage to having a lighter bike?
Yeah, so there's no perfect bike. It all depends on where you want to ride, where you want to go to, and what you're comfortable with. And I know a lot of motorcycle around the world riders get like smaller bikes, like Suzuki 650 or Honda. They have advantages, but in my case, I wanted to have more like heft and comfort when I'm riding, because I'm riding. To me, that my biggest sort of precious resource is time. I don't have a lot of time because of family that I have responsibility for. So as a result, I'm riding like 300 to 400 miles a day. And so I need a bike that's comfortable to ride, so I'm not so tired at the end of the day, right? So that comfort was a big factor. And that comes with big enough engine that's powerful enough, fast enough, and has like technology like cruise control and other features to make the ride not so hard. Whereas if you're riding on 650, you cannot really do what I do on a smaller bike. And so now, bigger bikes are harder to handle when it falls down and when you're going through like muddy areas or really deep sand areas. It's incredibly hard to pick the bike back up. So there are disadvantages. So you have to pick your route carefully so as not to get stranded in a very tough area. Like there are parts of Brazil where the roads, when it rains, it becomes thick mud. And it just becomes a total mess, and it's impossible to ride through that. And I know riders who've gotten stranded and stuck for days because they just cannot get their bike out. So I try to avoid those spots, and that comes with part of the planning for your trip and how you want to ride and what kind of terrain you're going to be riding through, as well as the weather.
My 2.5-part question. Why did you wonder why you were in Newfoundland? And while you were there, did you meet many of the locals, and what was that like?
Could you say the first part of the question again?
Why did you wonder why you were in Newfoundland?
Newfoundland?
Yeah.
Why did I?
When you said you're like, what am I doing here?
I see. Yeah. For the Newfoundland trip, it was my first long trip, 40 days, and I had broken my ankle from riding the like few months before that trip. So I bought this very heavy-duty motocross boots called Alpine Star Tech 10 boots. It's a very protective, very thick boots. But I found out that you don't wear that for 20 days straight. That's like meant to be worn 1 or 2 days, but I was wearing that every day. So when I got to Newfoundland, my ankle and leg started having trouble, and it was extremely painful, and I couldn't. So we were in a motel, and I was like extremely fatigued, under a lot of pain, and I was 5,000 miles away from home. There was no hospitals or clinics or doctors anywhere nearby, and so I was suffering, and I felt like, well, what am I doing here, right? And suffering this pain. And now the people in Newfoundland are amazing. They're so nice, extremely hospitable. One person who was a motorcycle rider who lives in Newfoundland followed me on my Facebook, and offered different advice and offered lodging for me and my friend Carl when we got to Newfoundland. And he gave us a ride around the beautiful trails around there. So, yeah, Canadian people are really super nice, and especially the Inuits and other First Nation people were extremely warm and nice. So, I find that across the board, but perhaps more so in some of these remote regions where they need to support each other because of harsh weather conditions or how remote they live in.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. What about your tires? What percent were you on pavement versus off-road, dirt or gravel? And then did you ever have flats, and did you carry a spare kit? And did you have like an all-terrain tire that was meant for all conditions?
So for the Alaska trip, which was about 10,500 miles, the off-road or unpaved road is about 2,300 miles. Because the Dempster Highway from Dawson City to Tuktoyaktuk is about 550 miles. So go up and back is 1,100 miles. And then from Fairbanks, Alaska to Prudhoe Bay, Alaska, the Dalton Highway is about 400 miles. So round trip is about 800. But then there are a lot of other unpaved dirt roads all over northern part of Canada as well as Alaska. So in that trip, the dirt roads were over 20% of the trip. So that was probably one of the highest. Patagonia, I would say about 800 miles out of the 3,000 was dirt road. And so what do I do with the flat? Yeah, so I've had 2 flats during my 6 years of long distance riding. And I carry, it's a tubeless tire, and I carry a flat repair kit. It's like it's called a worm, and it's basically you push this thing through and plug the hole using this tool, and it's actually works really well. And I carry a micro pump that's battery powered, so I could pump air back into the tire after I fix the flat tire. So, and that's almost the essential tool that adventure motorcycle riders who do long distance traveling must carry. That's like the baseline toolkit for emergencies.
Yeah, so you mentioned that few people got stuck in mud in Brazil. How did you plan, and which tool did you use to not have that happening to you or in Argentina or elsewhere?
Yeah, so I do a lot of research in terms of the terrain that I'm riding through, and as well as the weather, because it could make all the difference. So through YouTube, through books, through there's Horizon Unlimited group. I don't know if you heard of it. They're different overlanding groups, in our case, motorcycle groups that share information. And so, and Facebook is another great resource because there are many, many motorcycle groups in Facebook. They share information with each other, and there's a database of information. So I do the research on what kind of terrain and weather that I'm riding through to anticipate, what I need to bring, and to avoid sort of sticky situations.
So before I go into repeat questions, I want to ask one of my own, and that's I want to follow up on when you're alone. And traveling alone can get kind of weird. I used to do solo travel pre-cell phone, where you can't text or talk to people. And did you ever have any experiences, what am I doing here, and there's no one else to reinforce it? And how long were you solo, or any comment on just traveling solo versus part of a team?
Yeah, so I personally enjoy traveling with my friend Carl. It was so much fun. We just connected. We're like two buddies who had so much in common, and we just loved the camaraderie and the adventure together. We're both foodies. We love eating good food when we, arrive somewhere. But I also enjoy riding solo because it's kind of meditative. You have a lot of time to think and reflect, and that's how. True. But I'm always connected through I my kids call me when I'm riding, so I'm talking to them, or when I arrive, I text or call home and talk to my wife, or so I never felt like I was really isolated and alone. But I enjoy the solitude of riding alone and being alone because it's very meditative, it's reflective. It gave me time and space to kind of look back and ask some questions about myself and who I am, and so that's what I enjoy. So I enjoy both traveling with my best, with a friend or a small group, but also alone. And I never felt that I dislike it because I never felt like I was alone.
When you're about to crash, what do you do? Is there a technique so the bike doesn't land on top of you? If you feel like the bike's about ready to go over, you're making your U-turn and it's not going to happen, what do you do so it doesn't land on top of you?
So one thing that I purchased is a airbag vest. Just like cars have airbags for protection in case of crash, they have airbag vests for motorcycle riders. So it's tethered through a lanyard to the motorcycle so that if you're ejected from the bike before crashing, there's a gas canister that pumps air through the vest, so your neck and your back and shoulder is protected, around your ribs too. So I always ride with that, and so that's one thing I do. And the second thing is, you just do your best to try to stay upright, but sometimes you're gonna crash, you're gonna drop your bike, and so you have to make sure that you're not traveling so fast in a risky area like very slippery gravel area, so that even if you fall, you're not going to get severely injured. And you're protected through boots, helmets. I have an adventure riding jacket and pants that is very well padded. It's almost wearing armor because it's well padded. It's a specialized adventure bike. I thought about bringing it just to show you. But it is very protective, arm, elbow, shoulder, knee, everything. So even if you fall, even on a hard surface, you're not going to get that badly injured. So you do the best you can to protect yourself through gears, but also just not going too fast, and so that in the event that you're crashing, you're not injured too badly.
Because if you have 1,000 pounds, even if you've got a vest on, how are you going to get that bike off?
Yeah, so there are some YouTube videos that I've seen where motorcycle riders' legs are pinned under the bike when they crash, and it could be dangerous if it's remote and there's nobody else around to help them. So in my case, I avoid routes like that where there's no traffic. So I prefer taking country roads, dirt roads, but also one that has reasonable traffic. So in the event that I need help, there's cars or trucks or motorcycles driving by to help. So those are some of the precautions that I plan ahead to sort of avoid getting into a serious situation.
Of the gear that you've acquired and used and tossed and bought more of, what's something that you now find indispensable when you're on a bike ride?
Like when I'm traveling.
Yeah. Water, jugs, plugs.
Cold beer for the end.
Yeah. So I would say, I always make sure that I carry gum and an earplug because riding motorcycle for long periods of time every day could be bad for your hearing, and so I carry that. I make sure I carry water. Obviously, that's very important, and I carry like beef jerky or some other snack because you could be hungry, and there's no place to eat around, so you need to nourish yourself during those times. You know, I always have the RAM mount to install my iPhone on the handlebar so that I use my Google Maps for navigation. I didn't carry that when I went on my first trip, and I paid for it because I got lost because I couldn't get the correct navigation. So I would say those are the essential things, in addition to, like, I'm always wearing my climb adventure jacket and pants, boots, and helmet. I bring gaiter if it's cold so that my neck stays warm even in a cold, windy weather. Yeah, so those are some of the most essential things that I make sure I bring.
Well, thank you, Michael. Thank you, everyone. And for the folks at home, the folks online, if you liked what you saw here tonight, please consider subscribing to the channel and liking the video. It helps us out a ton. And if you're in LA, why not come on by? We do this every single Thursday, and you can meet our amazing speakers in person and ask your questions from our live audience. That's going to do it for us here at the Adventurers Club. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time off the beaten path. Good night.